Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be doing a vinyl update 28 I believe we are on to now. So yeah, just got like some records here to show what I've got over like the last month or so. But firstly though, I will start with some VCLT from my very good friend vinyl collector James in Texas. He got me this like a couple of months ago now. I think I got this one just after like my last vinyl update, so I couldn't show it in that one unfortunately, but I will show it now. He very kindly bought me this, which is an album by a group called Electronic, or like a duo. Basically this was sort of like a super group of sorts. I'll just take it out of the plastic sleeve. But basically we have Bernard Sumner from New Order and Joy Division, and Johnny Marr from the Smiths. This is the album what they made together. They made a couple of other albums, I think two more after this, but this is considered their masterpiece what they made together. It is called Electronic, but it isn't all dance music, all electronic. There are some there is a lot of guitar playing on this album as well. So I'll just quickly show this one here. This is a reissue of it, as you could probably guess here in the shrink wrap. It's got the inner sleeve, just a plain sleeve, and then the record itself looks like this. It is a really great album, this, to be fair. I mean, you have some really fantastic songs. I think Away With It was the hit single, as well as Get the Message, Feel Every Beat, and Tighten Up as well was another favourite track of mine. So yeah, some really great stuff. I can't actually find the end of this in the sleeve again. That's it there. That's it there, good in there. So yeah, fantastic album. Again, thank you James for getting me this. It's really fantastic. And yeah, so yeah, I'm very pleased with this, and thank you once again. Now I've got a couple of CDs what I have bought over the last month or so. First one I got from a record fair where I was at very cheaply. It is a Morrissey compilation, a greatest hits called Suede Head, the best of Morrissey. Basically just a compilation of his early solo material. This came out in 1997. It's just all his best songs. He does a version of the jams, That's Entertainment, as well as all his hits every day's Sunday, Suede Head, all the usual ones. That's what the inside looks like there. You get a little booklet and the CD there. Next album is this one here, which is The Essential Clash. Now I wanted to get this one here because I absolutely love the album London Calling. That was somewhat off a blind buy, really, I didn't really know what to expect from it, but I loved that album. So I thought let's try and get into some of the band's other material. So I thought this would be a good place to start. It covers an awful lot of ground. I could quite like these essential CD series. They do have a lot of tracks on them, but I found myself a little bit, well, I don't say disappointed, but it's sort of it's very punk, very sort of hard rock, aggressive stuff on here. But I found myself really still loving the London Calling track. So probably in hindsight, I should have just bought a CD off London Calling, because I wasn't too impressed with the other stuff on here, but it was still fairly good though, I thought. So yeah, it is nice to have a greatest hits best of The Clash. So now, if you excuse me, I've got a couple more Paul Weller CDs. I think I have now got every single one of his solo albums on CD now, just because they are so cheap. You see them everywhere you go, basically, at any record fairs, any sort of budget CD shops. They always have tons of them. So I just thought I might as well pick them up and get them into my collection. So the first one is Wildwood from 1993. This is a fantastic album. Some people consider this his best. I personally don't think so, but it still has some fantastic songs on it. You get a little booklet there, and the CD, pretty plain, just looks like that. So that's Wildwood. Next one I got from the same place as that. This is Heavy Soul, 1997. Another pretty good album here, it has to be said. Yeah, I quite like this one actually. A lot of people do tend to put this one down, but again, you get a little booklet with it. I haven't really looked through the booklet with this one too much. I assume it's just lyrics and whatnot in here. Yeah, just artwork and that. Some of this doesn't actually come with the vinyl, just lyrics, and then pictures and stuff. Like I have got like both of like these albums like on vinyl like already, but I just thought that it was worth it. Like getting like the CDs, just adding them like to my collection. So that's Heavy Soul there. Another one that was very cheap was this one here called Days of Speed, and this is like a acoustic live album what he done in like 2003, I think it was. It might have been like slightly earlier than that, but like it was like around that sort of time. Like he does a lot of great songs on here, great versions like as well, some like obscure style cancel and like solo stuff, but all like just like stripped down, like him like doing them solo. So it is like quite nice to hear slightly different like versions off like the tracks that like I am like familiar with. So yeah, this was like a really good little album here, Days of Speed. And final CD is this one here, which is a deluxe version of the Style Council's album Our Favourite Shop. Now I've been looking to get this like on CD for like a good like little while now, and like I was aware that like this like existed like a like deluxe version of this album. So like I thought like I'll hang around like wait until like I see one, and like I saw this in like the Fop shop in Manchester for about £8, what I thought was a great price for it. And you do get a ton of stuff. Like if like you are thinking like of getting like this album on CD, definitely get this one, because the bonus tracks you get I think about 7 non-album B-sides, which are all like every bit as good as like the stuff you actually get like the studio album, as well as like some like remixes, which some of them like you could do like without, a couple of like live tracks. But yeah, like it's mostly like the B-side stuff like the Piccadilly Trail, Spin Drifting, and When You Call Me, and like A Casual Affair, some brilliant tracks. This one opens up like this. You get like a picture of like them two, and then the CDs, and then like a little booklet as well with this one here. Well, I'll just quickly go through there, just so like various linear notes, pictures from the times, and that. So yeah, this is pretty nice actually. I guess to be said, and then like the lyrics. So yeah, definitely if like you are thinking of getting this album, this would be like the way to go for me. So now on to the vinyl. Now I have got 2 Style Council 12-inch singles. Now like I promise this will be it for like the Paul Weller stuff like in this video. First one is this, which is the 12-inch single to the song Money Go Round. Not a song I like particularly like or like would call like one of my favourites, but this was very cheap in like a record shop. Just quickly get open, show you the vinyl and like whatnot. But the B-side though is Head Start for Happiness, which is one of my favourite Style Council songs, and like Paul Weller songs like in general really, like it's a fantastic song. There's a label to it, and yeah, this was like a nice little find here, Money Go Round. Then I also got this one from the same shop. It is Walls Come Tumbling Down 12-inch single here, and this I probably prefer slightly. Like I mean, like I love the song like Walls Come Tumbling Down, and like this has like got like a couple of like B-sides. You get Spin Drifting, which is a fantastic song, The Whole Point 2, which I think is like a reworked version of like a track from like the debut album, and then Blood Sports as well, which is like a really fantastic song. And yeah, like I love like these Style Council 12 inches because like you don't see them all like that often, but like they're always like pretty cheap like when like you do like come across them. So they are like quite like collectible, and like they always have like these like exclusive B-sides and like nice artwork on them as well. So yeah, like I'll try and like get like more of these like when like I can, and like if like they are like reasonably priced as well. But yeah, it is nice. It is like always nice to get like a little bit more like Paul Weller in like my collection. So yeah, that is Walls Come Tumbling Down. So now on to the actual albums now. First one here is a Billy Joel one, and this is called The Nylon Curtain here. I haven't heard this album yet, but like again, this was very cheap, like about £3 I think like I paid for this. And like I thought, yeah, like I need a little bit more like Billy Joel. Like I've got like a couple off like his albums thus far. There's the back of it there, and like I know a couple of like the tracks on here, Allentown and Goodnight Saigon being the two. I think She's Right on Time, like I might know that one like as well, although I might be getting confused there with another one, not too sure. But anyway, you get a lyric insert with this, at least I think you do. Yeah, you do. Here it is. There's a picture there of like some houses, and then the back of it there with all of the lyrics to the songs, which is always nice. And then the record is just in like a plain sleeve. We are on CBS for this release here, so that is Billy Joel and The Nylon Curtain. Right, I got this next one while I was down in Manchester last time from a place called Affleck's Palace, and this is called The Best of Blondie here. Very popular album, like of course I just like the greatest hits. So yeah, I thought that I could get this one here. Like I have already got Parallel Lines, which is a fantastic album. This has like it's about 4 songs from that album. But then like a lot of like the other hits as well. This came out in 1981 this was, so still like a fairly early release, basically just all of like the hits up to this point in time. Next one up now is a Kinks live album. This is called One for the Road. This was recorded I think in like the early 80s, so it just sort of features like some of like the tracks from like the early, sort of like the late 70s, like early 80s albums. And that, so a lot of stuff like I am like unfamiliar with on here, and like yeah, like I haven't played this, so like I don't really know like what like the sound quality is like, what like their like performance is like. But yeah, they do like some like older stuff like as well, so like such as Where Have All the Good Times Gone, Lola, 20th Century Man, Stop Your Sobbing, and yeah, like You Really Got Me, Victoria. Yeah, basically like a lot of like the hits on this album here. So yeah, pretty nice here. The Kinks, One for the Road. The next 4 are all from a record fair where I went to in Dunfermline, like little town like up here like in Scotland. The first one here is a Elvis Costello album called Trust. Haven't heard this album yet, and like I am like a little bit like unfamiliar with like most of like the material on this album. Like I know 2 of the songs from like a greatest hits album what I've got. Those are Clubland and New Lace Sleeves, which I really like both of those songs. So like I'm hoping that like the rest of like the album is like as good as those 2 tracks. I like also see like Glenn Tilbrook's name on like the back here, like from Squeeze. So like I'm hoping that he maybe sings like a little bit like on this album as well. But yeah, like should be like a good album. I think so. Yeah, there is the inner sleeve there. Nice pictures on that. And then for this one, I'm not sure what label we're on. I think we're still on, IMP Records or Impos, something like that. Like I think like it's Elvis's like own label, like what he had like around this time, but like I'm not too sure. So from the fair is this album, which is Bob Dylan's Bringing It All Back Home. Yeah, like I hear great things like about this album. Like I have already got Blonde on Blonde, which I liked a little bit. Like they were like that being like a double album, and like a lot of tracks, like a lot of like very long songs, like as well. Like there's a couple of like 10-minute plus tracks like on that album. So yeah, maybe that wasn't like the best one to get first. But I hear great things like about this one here. We do have like some songs that I'm quite familiar with. Subterranean, Homesick Blues, Mr. Tambourine Man, and It's All Over Now Baby Blue, probably being like the more popular ones from the album here. Great cover like as well, and this is a 70s reissue. I believe we are on this sort of Columbia label here for this release. I thought this was CBS like actually, but it says Columbia on it anyway. So yeah, bringing it all back home by Bob Dylan here. Next record is one that I have been missing from my Pink Floyd collection for like a little while now. Like it's one that I've been always like putting off getting, sort of like I see it like all the time, but like I've never really felt like compelled to like actually go out and buy it. But this time like this was like quite cheap, sort of like about like £8 I think. So like I thought, hey, I might as well get like one step closer to like completing like my Pink Floyd collection. And this is the final cut here. Yeah, not the greatest album, like it has to be said. This is certainly more of like a Roger Waters album. Very sort of like anti-war, very political themes on it. But yeah, like it is like quite nice to have it here on vinyl. There's the inner sleeve there. I believe that sticker was supposed to be on like the front, but like the person like who owned this must have just peeled it off, shoved it on like the inner sleeve for like reasons like unknown to me. We have the inner sleeve here, which is just plain black, I think. And then the record itself looks like this here, with these sort of pictures on like either side. So yeah, haven't heard this album, so like I can't really like pass like comment on it. But like from what I hear from like other people's like opinions on this, this doesn't seem to be one of like the best albums, like it has to be said. The next one is probably the most interesting one, like for me personally, from that record fair. it is a Pete Townsend album called Scoop. Now what this is like a collection of like his sort of like demos, like what he done. Now like if like you don't know, Pete Townsend liked to make these really like sort of like extravagant demos. Like he always, like he had like his home studio, so like he'd like program like the synthesizers and that like himself, like he'd do it all like himself, and like these sort of demos are like almost like proper songs like within themselves, like they are really really good. So I thought that I'd get this here. Like he does like a couple of like Who demos like on here. We get So Sad About Us, Circles, Bargain, Behind Blue Eyes, Magic Boss, and like Love Rain Over Me as well as some like other tracks I'm not familiar with. Not sure if like these were maybe all like solo albums or like maybe just like unreleased stuff. But yeah, this was a really nice thing to find, very cheap as well, and like I've never seen this before either. And this is a double album set. I'll just show one of the vinyls, but they all come with these nice like inner sleeves with just sort of pictures there of him like in his studio, and like you can see all like the equipment what like he used to do like these demos on, and like little like liner notes as well, just sort of like about like each of like the songs. So it's really really nice package this. We are on Atco Records for this release here. Yeah, Pete Townsend Scoop. So yeah, really really nice find. Like I really enjoyed, like I played like the first record of this and like I really loved it. It was absolutely fantastic. So yeah, Pete Townsend Scoop. Right, so now I've got one brand new album from this year, and then like a couple of like reissues to show like towards the end of the video. The brand new album is by Bruce Foxton, called Smash the Clock. Now like I got this one after seeing From the Jam, who like I saw like a couple of like months ago, and they were absolutely fantastic. And like I was like aware that like Bruce Foxton and like Russell Hastings, like the guy like who's like sort of like who's like taken like Weller's spot, and that had like an album out, but like I didn't really buy it. Like I wasn't really like intending to get it. But then like I saw them and like thought, right, like I'm gonna like support these guys. Like they're doing like a fantastic job. So I bought Smash the Clock here, and this is like a really good album actually. Like I love the song Now the Time Has Come, which was like the lead single, and like is a fantastic song, really great. A lot of like the other ones on here, like again, like good songs. Some like slightly like weaker lyrics, like it doesn't have like the same sort of like lyrical bite what like Weller does. But this is still pretty good, and like, a lot of like hardcore like Jam fans like who like despise everything that Weller's done since for like breaking up, like their favourite band, think that this is better than like Paul Weller's latest albums. And like yeah, like it isn't quite that good for me, but there is still some really really fine stuff on here. There's the inner sleeve there, get a picture of like the band there, and then the album itself looks like this here. So there's nice custom labels with this one as well. And yeah, this was a really good album from this year. I believe it might have been released late in 2015, like I'm not too sure, but it is a fairly recent one from the Jam, or like rather Bruce Foxton. It's just credited to Bruce Foxton, but like I do think that like Russell Hastings like probably should get like a credit like on here, because he does I think like most if not all of like the vocals, as well as like writing like most of like the songs for like Bruce. So yeah, he maybe should like get like a credit like with this album here. But despite that, this is still a brilliant album, Smash the Clock. So now I've got another Kinks album, like it is, this one here is Kinda Kinks, a like reissue, like of course. Like yeah, like I'm like nearly complete all like the 60s stuff, like I still need to get like the first album. But I was actually really pleasantly surprised with this album, because a lot of people say that the Kinks didn't become really really great like until like the third album, The Kink Controversy. But I thought that this was every bit as good as that album, like honestly. I mean, like Ray Davies was writing some really fantastic songs here, like such as like Tired of Waiting for You, Nothing in the World Can Stop Me Worrying, Can't Stop Me Worrying About That Girl, Don't Ever Change. And like yeah, like there's so many like other like, non-album singles from like around this point in time, but like, I can't help thinking that this album could have been made like even better, like if like they put some of like the singles on it. This one is on red vinyl as well, like most of like the Kinks reissues are. So yeah, this was a really fantastic album. Like I was quite pleasantly surprised with it, considering that this doesn't get like a lot of like recognition. So the next one up now is a Elvis Costello album, one which I have been looking for like a little while now, like pretty much like since like I got into him. And like yeah, like I thought like I might as well just settle for for like a reissue like on this one, because I've never seen like a original copy of it ever before on vinyl. It is the album My Aim Is True here. This is a Back to Black vinyl reissue of it. So yeah, here is the cover and there's the back of it here, and we get some brilliant tracks on this album. Allison probably being like the most popular songs. We also get Watching the Detectives, which I don't think was on like the original UK version, although it may have been on like the US release. The Angels Wanna Wear My Red Shoes, fantastic song, love that. Lesson Zero like is great as well. And yeah, there's some other like really great tracks. There's a track listing. In here we get a where we get the vinyl, like of course, just in like a plain sleeve though. Not sure if like the originals came in like a fancy design one, but we just get like a there's the label there. That's it there, My Aim Is True. This is also like without the attractions as well, like they wouldn't like join in like until like the next album, this year's Model. But yeah, this is still a brilliant album though, certainly like a very fine debut. You also get like a download code, which is always nice as well with this. So fantastic album here, My Aim Is True. Now the next one now is like a Rolling Stones album now. Like I've been wanting like to get into them for like a little while now. Like I mean, like I got like a greatest hits, and like for like years I could always sort of been like, oh, I like the Beatles, like I don't like the Stones. But then like as I got more into like other sort of 60s music like the Who and like the Kinks and that, I thought, well, hey, I might as well like give them a try, and I'll like probably love a lot of like their songs, and like I definitely do. Like they are fantastic. So I thought, like, let's start getting like their actual albums now. So like I thought that I would start with like one of like the 60s ones, one of like the more like acclaimed albums. This is Let It Bleed here, and I quite like this album. Like it was pretty good actually. Like it has to be said. I mean there's some classics on here like Gimme Shelter, you can't always get what you want, Let It Bleed. And like what other ones did I like? I think I liked, was it Midnight Rambler? Like I think like I really loved that one as well. But there were some songs on this album what I kind of like didn't care for somewhat. I think it was like Country Honk, and maybe was it You Got the Silver. It might have been that one. Like I can't quite remember. But like there were like a couple of tracks on this album what like I wasn't a massive fan of. But it was still a fairly good listen. Here is the inner sleeve there, quite basic design though, but just like credits and whatnot. And then the label looks like this, which is quite a nice design. I actually just get like the little figurines there off the Stones. So yeah, pretty good album here, like as we said, Let It Bleed. Right, so now the final record is this one here. It is by Oasis and it is called What's the Story, Morning Glory. So I thought that I would get this one for like a couple of things. Like firstly, like I got like the greatest hits CD, and like I really liked most of like the songs from that album, as well as like my online friend like Sarah like really loves this album, like and I said that you got to hear it, I got to get it like on vinyl. So I thought that I would, and I was really blown away. This is such a brilliant album, very consistently great as well, right from like the start. I mean like Hello is fantastic, then you just get killer 3 tracks, Roll With It, Wonderwall and Don't Look Back in Anger, and then like it kind of like just gets better. Like I mean like Some Might Say is fantastic, She's Electric is like another favourite of mine, Morning Glory, and then Champagne Supernova at close. Just a fantastic album really. Like I'm hoping to get like the debut album, which is definitely maybe fairly soon now, because I love this. Unfortunately though, that with Oasis they didn't quite manage like to reach like the same greatness of like the first 2 albums. Like they kind of like went on a bit and they didn't make like all like that great albums like after this. But this is still brilliant. I will just quickly show you the vinyls here. They are both just in like these plain sleeves here. But then you do get like these nice like and like these nice labels with them. And like also with this you got like a download code as well, and like not only did like you just get like the album with it, but you also got like a ton of like bonus stuff, a lot of like live tracks, a lot of like demo stuff. So like I would really recommend like getting like these. Like these are a little bit well, like, these are like a little bit like more expensive like vinyl like reissues, like compared to like most things. Like these were like about like £23 this one here, and they definitely maybe, but it is worth it considering these are pressed on like beautiful double vinyl, so they sound great, and like you also get like a ton of like bonus stuff like with like the download code. So definitely I would like recommend getting this album, What's the Story, Morning Glory. Fantastic band, fantastic album here. So that is it for this vinyl update. Like, I hope you have enjoyed this video. As always, if like you would like to see me like review any of these albums like in more detail, please do leave them like down below in the comments, and I will see you all next time for the next video. Goodbye.